Well, folks, how y'all doing today? Well, today we're going on with the full live action web pod because, boy, we're tired of being told what we can say. We're tired of these nannies. We're tired of being censored, frankly. If it comes right down to it, folks. Aren't you? Aren't you? I mean, my God, we can't even talk about Antifa because you're labeling a whole group of people. Well, what do they do when they talk about conservatives? Or when they talk about anyone else on the planet that they call fascists? And every fascist I might know what they mean to institute violence against. But hey, whatever. So I'm thinking, let us talk, yeah? We're going to read 6 pages of Let Us Talk. Because why not? This will really make them angry. Let us talk about tending to the living and leave the land of the Antifa, Google, Facebook, Twitter dead behind us. Yes, indeed, let us talk. Let us talk about other possibilities. Let us have a talk about better things. Let's talk about preservation, restoration, and rebuilding this chaos that has been made by the liberal, PC, modernist world and their insanity. They can't even keep male and female straight, for God's sakes. Let's talk about chastity, virtue, glory, and renown as high ideals of honesty, duty, loyalty, and courageous action willingly undertook as the means to great ends. Let us talk of common action to the common good as the best of ends. Let us talk about the clean, orderly future that awaits us after all of this vigorous action. The happy and strong people of the world whom we should wish to emulate, past, present, and future, since we know who not to emulate, right? Let us talk with pride of the beauty and light that our culture has and shall again project onto this dark world in our valiant effort to push back the vile world of savagery. Let us talk about tomorrow rather than yesterday or even today, ever forward, ever onward towards victory. Let us look to the future that awaits us at the end of a glorious period of struggle, contest, and bitterly contested intrusion upon our culture sphere and living space by the dark hordes of the earth. Let us set aside thoughts of mass confrontation and talk about more mundane, daily routine things. Let us talk about emulating the good in others and negating the bad in ourselves. Thereby, let us talk about a certain, for now to be unnamed, nation-state, which is in the here and now, based upon safe families, securely in their homes, happy around their hearths, upholding their heritage in tight-knit communities of like families with thousands of little happy children running around. Oh, the horrors. Can you imagine? It must be a prison house. This is exactly how Antifa would view what I just said, too. Life building upon life. Let us walk among these people mentally and talk about what we see. The family is based upon a happy mother-father bonding pair, which seem to make the basis for the well-founded home and tight-knit community in which life grows. The mother-father-child quantum is the well from which spring many similar persons into interlocked families which, being bound together by blood and way of life, grow, as if from a single fertilized egg, naturally into unified and united people. Blood matters. The people we are discussing have a living community of activity in which there exists, spiritually and mentally, a conscious commonality of language, manners, and morality. This people have a sense of a shared history going back to the first family, all the way back into the mist of hoar-haired time, an identity as old as the oldest rocks, but reborn in the face of every lawful citizen's child who was raised into this sacred and hallowed tradition. This people have a common cultural core that grows with them and shapes while it is shaped by the living people themselves. They act on each other, this culture and these people, you see? A vital culture that exalts their values, mores, and needs openly with satisfaction in itself, needing no multi at all. The morals of the families and the whole people are based upon honest dealing one to the other, frugality and use of material needs, dedication to one's family, kin, community, and labors, and mutual respect all to all. Each that gives respect is respected. Oh, Jesus. Well, folks, I have to go and stop right quick. Sorry about that. Oh, folks, how y'all doing today? Well, you know, folks, I'm about getting tired of being told what I can and can't say, so we're going to read this out loud. There's 6 pages of this, and we're going to have us a little talk. So, let us talk about tending to the living. Yes, indeed, let us talk. Let's talk about other possibilities away from these controlling PC freaks. Let us talk about better things, better days, better times. Let us talk about preservation, restoration, and rebuilding. Let us talk about chastity, virtue, glory, and renown as high ideals of honesty, duty, loyalty, and courageous action willingly undertaken as the means to great ends. Let us talk of common action to the common good as the best of ends. Let us talk about the clean, orderly future that awaits us after all this vigorous action. The happy and strong people of the world whom we should wish to emulate, past, present, and future. Let us talk with pride of the beauty and light that our culture has and shall again project into this dark world in our valiant effort to push back the vile world of savagery. Let us talk about tomorrow rather than yesterday or even today, ever forward, ever onward towards victory. Let us look to the future that awaits us at the end of a glorious period of struggle, contest, and bitterly contested intrusion upon our cultural sphere and living space by the dark hordes of the earth. Let us set aside thoughts of mass confrontation and talk about more mundane, daily routine things. Let us talk about emulating the good in others and negating the bad in ourselves thereby. Let us talk about a certain, for now to be unnamed, nation-state in which, here in the now, based upon safe families, secure in their homes, happy around hearths, upholding their heritage in a tight-knit community of families. I know, sounds like a horrible prison house, doesn't it? Let us talk about building life upon life. Let us walk among these people mentally and talk about what we see as they are building life upon life. The family is based upon a happy mother-father bonding pair, which seems to make the basis for the well-founded home and the tight-knit community in which life grows. Divorce is unknown amongst these people. The mother-father-child is the well from which spring many similar persons into interlocked families, which being bound together by blood and way of life grow as if from a single fertilized egg, naturally into a unified and united people. This people we are discussing have a living community of activity in which there exists, spiritually and mentally, a conscious commonality of language, manners, and morality. This people have a sense of a shared history going back to the first family, all the way back into the mist of hoar-haired time. An identity as old as the oldest rocks, but reborn in the face of every lawful citizen's child who is raised into this sacred and hallowed tradition. This people have a common cultural core that grows with them and shapes while it is shaped by the living people themselves. A vital culture that exalts their values, mores, and needs openly with satisfaction in itself. The morals of the families and the whole people are based upon honest dealing one to the other, frugality in the use of material needs, dedication to one's family, kin, community, and labors, and mutual respect all to all. Each that gives respect is respected. I know, again, sounds like a horrible prison house, doesn't it? The culture of this people reflects and gives life to these high ideals, affirming boldly and loudly the good and censuring the ill with no regard for moral quibbles. Society is only a large, well-behaved family writ large to these people, after all. This people, acting as an economic whole, are the vital, living nation. The nation of its own will protects the land of the whole, the livelihood of the family, and the life of each loyal citizen who does his duty to the nation. Each citizen, as a sign of loyalty, serves in the capacity he is first his own family, then his local community, and then the whole polity in that order. Family, community, polity. The nation is wise enough to see that the citizen must have food, shelter, and clothing for the family to whom he belongs. They simply must have these things, and that order requires they provide these things by their own labors. Thus the nation ensures to each family as a unit the means to have a livelihood, such that they may labor to provide for the family home. So without this right, no other right has any meaning at all. Freedom starts with a family home free from want and able to honorably provide for themselves in this people's estimation. No hypothetical theory about it. The final end of the nation is to ensure the people grow and produce enough material means to survive, and overall are virile and strong. The nation is simply the household economy that keeps its own and cares for all its members writ large. This people, as a political whole, are the state under which they live. The state is bound to the law, seeks to keep order, and as far as humanly possible seeks to ensure to each the justice rightfully due to them. The final end of the state is to ensure the people remain sovereign over their land and can keep their own laws and way of life. The state is simply the household as a political unit writ large. The nation state is merely the combined family unit writ large amongst these wise, virile, healthy, and stable people. That is the national part, the livelihood part, and the state part, the protection of the livelihood part, is the nation state. It is a living thing and an abstract all at the same time. This nation state has certain values upon which it is based and which act as its strong walls. These are loyalty, duty, honor, and courage. These values apply to all. Every citizen does their duty inside the family, community, and commonality with honor and courage. This acts as a spiritual mental wall that keeps out enemies and allows for united defense against the attacks of those enemies that do come to harm the common good. It keeps them on a common page and gives them a common frame of reference from which to base judgments and to understand one to the other. This people have a truly popular polity, you see, one that actually cares about the populace and which the populace actually cares about, unlike these sham democracies of today. This popular polity has accepted the cold logic of the needs pyramid as their foundational societal logic. This is, in short, the reality that each citizen has material needs as regard food, clothing, and shelter, minimal needs that is, and thus that each must be allowed the right to labor to ensure those needs for society to be stable. We don't care about market. Thank you. This popular polity has accepted and mastered class by cooperating the higher and lower to all's advantage. They have had the wisdom to see that nature has divided abilities and rewards, but that it is best if all give a bit and work together for everyone. This class has given way to the common good. Class warfare has given way to class collaboration. The way of children has given way to the way of adults. This people live with the knowledge that politics, economics, and society are all tied together, with the family unit as the common source of origin, as the seed from which all the splendor of their existence springs. This people have created all this by purposeful design. As veritable modern Spartans, they have by will set aside the hedonism of the current age for a truly and faithful people state in which home, commonality, hearth, culture, heritage, history are the basis for well-lived lives under their own order, law, and sovereign will. And this with the family unit as a secure and safe nuclei that lay out the template for the rest of the construction around them, the seed that sprouts into the nation-state tree when watered by tradition and cared for with loving devotion. All this, the act of saving and strengthening the family, has brought this people around from being death-based to being life-affirming. This people thus have order inside and keep chaos out because of this cultural cell wall. They have a living community of common interests, a community which has life beyond the mere material wants of any one member, a community that acts to the common good. This people, because each is productively laborious, have real happiness among common cheer. True freedom being the freedom to live generation upon generation in the same ancestral home, free from fees, fines, taxes, or impositions. And these people live life to the fullest amongst their kin, companions, and a community that has regard for their persons. It's terrible, I know, huh? Sounds really like a horrible prison, huh? There is so much among these free people to recommend themselves to us, but I would like to draw attention to the following few. 1. All money is based upon goods produced. They use their own labor as credit and then pool and loan it out by means of credit unions. Usury is unknown amongst them. 2. They have learned to work together inside the circle of order. Learn that working together inside the circle of order multiplies efforts for the common good. Thus they have worked to ensure that each loyal person gets their just recompense from an honest day of labor. They have done this by driving out the merchants and pricing the value of their exchanges themselves using cooperatives, small markets, and the just price, which is also a fixed price throughout production. 3. These wise people have seen that charity is a means to elevate their fallen brethren. They find this binds them family to family and person to person, as well as ensuring that each is able to be productive. Notice they help them, they don't carry them. The common good is best served when all are able to do good for the commons after all. 4. These people's media is tasked with providing factual knowledge and allowing real living citizens a platform, a neutral platform, from which to voice concerns and ideas. In other words, their media aren't publishers, they're platforms. It has zero commercial function and is purely a publicly owned utility that cannot and does not make its own editorial decisions. It only publishes what citizens give it and or factual information, purely factual information. 5. These wise people have an educational system that starts at home with letters and numbers, goes on to all the core subjects needed to have a well-rounded academic minds, but it is much more than mere letters and numbers. It is the morals that children are taught in their home early in life. It is the examples of loyalty, duty, honor, and courage that they have presented before their eyes. And it is cap this educational system by a citizenship course that teaches the young how to be loyal, dutiful, honorable, courageous citizens and honest, frugal, dedicated, respectful family and community members. This leads naturally to the people's political associations, which act to give unity to the people at the same time as they allow for calmly contested considerations about what is the best means to the people's best ends. This contest brings out the ideas and the goods that come from party politics, but has none of the negatives, as there are no permanent factions, no corrupt deals are to be had. Overall, the best ideas are found, tested, and applied by means of these associations across the people's land, because all freeholders in good standing are allowed to say, included, the negative feelings generated by party factionalism is overcome, and the common good is sought as the mutual good. This is a wise, strong, and forward-looking people who also have roots firmly in the past, but who above all live in the present days with their kin and kind here under the sun, seeking to prepare as best as possible for the glorious future that awaits them. This is a people who wish to see their ancestors without shame, having kept their traditions faithfully and with all honor. Thus this people live to the fullest, as they are not afraid of dying, seeing it as the final act in the drama called life. If you live well, you need not fear dying, since you'll die well as well. Truly, at this point, there must be many who are asking, what people are these? Where are they located? Well, you see, they are and they are not. They are not yet, but they are a possible future for our own people if we work hard and make the choices necessary to grasp this potential destiny. There is much work to be done, much of it inside our very souls. The group, the family, the community must become the central focus, and the sterile individual devoid of dynamic existence must be left on the examining table of liberalism, a siren warning to all that try to dissect life. Once this is done, then the ideal of the family-based nation-state must be sold to the masses. Their consciousness must be made to accept it, as you will. They must see that in this idea, the safe, orderly, and clean schools, playgrounds, and communities that they yearned for in their hearts of hearts is a real possibility. They must see the existing system as thoroughly vile, degraded, and unworthy of fighting to preserve. And they must see the ideal as the spotless model from which to rebuild. Right? Then and only then will the masses have the moral courage necessary to let go of the old and to wisely make room for the new in their hearts, their lives, and their material reality. They will thus be willingly driven to destroy what is death-affirming and to cling to what is life-affirming. They will, in fact, demand that leaders act to fulfill this newfound need once the need comes into its own. As a new baby, this idea will demand attention. This idea will be thought out in terms of families, in homes, around hearths, passing on heritages. These families will then form a people who live in several communities, which have commonality of language, manners and morals, a shared history, and cultural ties. These families and the people as a whole are honest, frugal, dedicated, and respectful as primary cardinal virtues. This people then form a nation which protects the land, livelihood, and life of the people inside their circle of life. This people also form a state which protects against threats to the above using law applied without partiality or mercy, orderly punishments, and justice equitably given to all. Equity means what is right, not what is equal. The nation-state imbues loyalty, duty, honor, and courage, as the nation-state is not an abstract, but the citizens' families and friends, their very loved ones, their very selves. You, in fact, are the nation-state. You. This idea is what nationalism is all about, and what we should be talking about, in my humble opinion. Popular national states with the family unit as the central nucleus is the future of our kind, the future of the West, the future, period. Let us talk about that future. Let us promote it as a light in the darkness, as a rock amidst the storm. Let us do this for our people's own good. Let us talk. Let us not be silenced by these censors. Let us say things that we wish. Let us talk with honor, talk with duty, talk with courage. And for that, people matter, let us just talk. You all have a nice day, okay, folks?